do today is just a little brief kind of quick tutorial about how I go into kind of doing my Chibi style characters for my stream. Now what I do is, if it's just going to be something very simple, like a PDF, not PDF, I can't remember what you call it, but I use a little program. This is the program I use to actually put it up so you can see my characters on screen. And so this is a little R2D2 I did on the green screen, and when he talks he jumps up and down. I don't know if you've seen my other streams. I do have quite a few others. So I made a little Einstein Chibi. You know, his little moustache moves when he talks, he blinks his eyes. So this is kind of just the basic character. I've got my, obviously, the 3D live one that I've started to use, but this is what I started out with, and it just makes like simple images. So you'll have, say, 4 slots there, so one for his mouth closed, one for his mouth open, and one for the blinking animation. You put them in this, and then you can use the green screen filter, and it'll appear in your corner. So you see my little scene here where it's got the little box there in the corner. That's where they go. So without further ado, I thought, because I'm starting to do streams of Bob Ross, I'd do kind of how to draw a Bob Ross chibi. So when I'm showing his work, I can have him in the little chibi in the background designing it. So this is my reference image. So, you know, if you've ever watched Bob Ross, he's always kind of in front of the camera, and he's got his canvas there that he paints. So what I've started off with is just a simple sketch of what I think kind of it looks like. And so this is just in kind of pencil, and then taking this picture on my phone, scanned into the PC. And what we're going to end up with is kind of similar to this. And you can kind of see I've altered it a little bit. So rather than just his little easel in his hand, I've now got a brush as well. So what it'll do is it'll effectively sit on the side of the screen and kind of do that. And obviously, because it needs a green screen background, he's got the background there. So without further ado, I'll get into how this is kind of created. So using this as the reference image. Actually, I need to see Bob side by side, so I'll shrink this down a little bit. Brilliant. So we start out with layers. So in brand new layer on top of this, and we'll create a new layer. And we'll make it transparent. Perfect. So now you can see there's kind of nothing on this one, but we've got the base one down of what we'll work with. So when we've got this layer selected, I want to select the brush tool. And again, for this, it's just really basic. So I want the size to about 2 or 3. Now normally I do this with a pen and a tablet, like a drawing tablet, but just for you today I'm doing it kind of freehand in GIMP. So please bear with me, because it's going to be done with a mouse, so it's not going to be the most accurate thing in the world. So we'll start with just a simple outline. So we want his bumpy hair. And if you were putting this into a 3D animation program, you'd just obviously have each individual layer labeled. So we'd call this one hair, so then you can animate them each individually separately. If you want to see what you've drawn, just obviously disable the view that you were looking at previously. But you can see I've got the rough bushy outline for the hair. But what I'll do is I'll undo that. Because what I want to do is turn up the hardness and the force. So rather than any gaps, because when you're filling it in, there's nothing worse than kind of when you come to fill it in, it kind of populates the whole area. So I'll put him back on, but I'm still working on the uppermost layer. but there I want to turn the force up to 100, and that means it would create a very black outline. So do that again, bumpy hair. Right, and then just isolate that obviously from the face. Right, so there we go. We'll call that hair. Okay, so now we want another one, so create a new blank layer. Always set it to transparency. This one is going to go below the hair, and you do it in order. So this one we want to have his beard, so we'll call this one beard, so on and so forth. So again, pen selected, and now we want to draw in his bushy beard. So bushy beard. Include his mustache, obviously. And you can take your time with this. Normally you'll just go in and take your time. Obviously I'm just rushing this one just so we can get through it with you. So then we want to create a new one. Right, so for this one I'm just going to call it clothes. You'd obviously separate these out, so you'd have, say, trousers in one of them, etc, etc. But for this one we're just going to draw his trousers, and we're going to make it all on just one single layer. So this is the outline for his trousers. And you can be as in-depth or as not in-depth as you want with these. And so this is how I start all of my characters when I'm kind of designing them for the stream. I'm like, so what do I want it to look like? Is it for a specific purpose? So this one is obviously Bob Ross for when you're watching his tutorials. For the other one, the R2-D2 was so when I play Star Wars games, I can have R2-D2. I've got my Gothic Witch for when we're watching like Halloween stuff. All sorts. As you can make it as realistic or as kind of Chibi-esque inspired, depending on what you're wanting to use it for. I'll cut that one off there because he's going to have the easel in front. But what I'd normally do is I'd tend to work, and even if if there was something under there, what I would normally do is continue to work it. So if you're going to have it where one frame he doesn't have an easel, you'll just obviously continue on and add on the rest of the stuff under there. So we'll do that just for the sake of this one. So there's his arm that's going to be holding the rest of it. So we'll take the eraser tool and we'll get rid of that line that I created there. And the good thing about doing them all on separate layers is you can kind of move things around should you need to. So then we'll create another one, and you just keep going and going and going. And this one is going to be the easel. Not the easel, his I can't even remember the name of the bloody thing now. Sorry, I get brain farts, it's awful. Palette. So this is the palette. And then we'll draw the palette on. And there's a little hole where his arm would go, his hand would go to hold it. So if you remove it, you can see it's coming along. So then above the beard and the hair, we need another one. And call this his face. And this is where you obviously do the face. So you've got his mouth. Give him an eyebrow there. An eyebrow there. And then obviously separately you do each individual eye, so you can do the kind of what you need to do. So you can have them kind of one eye that winks, one eye that blinks, and you would do the kind of mouth movement, and you'd have them all on separate layers. For this one, I'm just going to quickly jot them in. So you can see now, you can see kind of where we're going with it. And underneath the palette, the last layer we'll do will be for his hands. And we want that below palette. And then we'll just draw his hands in. And again, as kind of in depth or as not in depth as you need. There you go, and you can kind of see where you go from there. Underneath the face layer, we'll just add on the last little bit, which are going to be his legs. There you go. So now you've got your reference. So his shirt is obviously like a whitish colour, so we'll go with like a bluish colour, isn't it? So if we go with like a bluey colour, I'll select his clothes. And if you fill them in, and he's got jeans on, so his jeans are going to be darker blue. He's got like a brown belt on, so we'll go to the brown. And again, I'm just quickly running through this, but you can see how you would build it up there. Okay, and for his hair, see, that's what I mean about doing it on separate levels. So if you must mess up like that, you can kind of undo it. So there's his hair for that one. And his beard is like a lighter colour of that. So we'll go to that spectrum. So for the palette, it is like a greyish colour. and it's appearing, so you can see his hand underneath it, so you need to obviously drag the palette up over the clothes, and it then covers that in, so you can see you can rearrange these layers as you like. So his hands, and that's because if we look at the hands, we take off this hand above the clothes, there'll be a gap in there somewhere. So you can see there's a gap. So you can always go back in and cover up any gaps. There you go. And go over to his other hand. That's because we put the palette above that, so go back to the palette, see where his hand is, and what we can do is erase that bit of the palette. And again, you can go as quickly or as slowly as this, as much detail as you wanted. If you want individual fingers that can move, you can do that. Just take your time. If you were going for more like a less cartoony style, you could make it more realistic. And then if we put the opacity back up, you can see that his hands are peering through the hole there. See? Zoom out. And we also put his legs on this layer, so we'll just we put it on the face layer, so there we go. That's why it was colouring it in. And the face is gone above the beard, so you can put the beard back in. Underneath the clothes layer, we want to give it a bit of texture, so we'll put some texture on the ground to make it a bit bigger, and we'll just put a, so we stand and so we get his shadow underneath. On the palette we'll do some blobs of paint, so just pick some colours. A bit of red there. Bit of blue. Always has the white there. Give some green. Just be careful with the green because obviously we're going to have green screen background. So have it, say, a darker green, then you don't want it to disappear when you're putting the... But you get the idea. So there's his little thing, and we go up to his face, and we'll colour in the eyes. But we don't want more. We don't want all of it. So we'll kind of put the little white bit there, and the dot there. Same up here, white bit there, and a dot there. Lastly, above his hand, or in his hand, shall I say, we will put his brush. So we'll have a brown handle. We'll do a stylized brush, even though brushes don't ever look like this in real life. There we go. And lastly, tell you what, we'll put a pot of paint on the floor. So this is going to be a red paint. So above where we've done the kind of the little thing in the background, we'll have, say, a pot of paint. Just quickly a pot of paint. There you have just a quick intro of how we would do a little chibi of Bob Ross. Now, obviously, when you come to doing his eyes and his face and everything, what you could do is, so that's the face we've got there. Do another one of those. So when we don't have that on, so we'll do another one. So we'll do a new layer. And this one we'll call Eyes Closed. So when his eyes are open, you would obviously have this one playing. When his eyes are closed, you would then switch to this one. So we'll switch to this one there. So we'll want black again. This time we'll have his eyebrows. We'll have his kind of eyes kind of flattish. So there, his eyebrows have come down a bit. We'll have his mouth closed. But for his eyes, we'll just put the little slit in instead. As if he's blinked. Okay. Then we'll go back to this. And we'll just paint in the rest. Then you would just save these individually with your green screen background on. I'm just going to quickly kind of colour the rest of him in. So you get a quick idea of what it would look like. And again, take your time when doing this. Obviously, you're not kind of constrained for how long this takes. As Bob used to say, if he goes over 30 minutes, his producer gets really mad at him. Although I am my own producer. This is just, as I say, just an overview, so you can see basically how it would work. But you're only limited by your imagination, so if you don't want if you don't want Bob Ross, if you want, say, somebody else, if you do streams about ghosts, do a little ghost chibi that you can have playing. So what you do is, as I say, when his eyes are open, you can obviously hide that one and have that playing instead. Or you'd have that one place when he blinks, and then you would see that he basically does that. And you can kind of obviously get more embellishing. So if you wanted his hair kind of, I don't know, with more flair, you could add more flair in. What I did with my other one, you can see this one, what I did was actually did lots of little just paintbrush marks. So kind of select, I don't know, this as an example. Obviously shrink it down to size. So turn down the hardness and the force. And you put that, you can go as gently or as much as you like. You are only limited by your imagination. Got different brushes. And some of it will be darker. So don't go outside the lines like I'm doing. Just giving you a rough example of what you can accomplish. It's easy with a bloody... When you're not using a bloody mouse, when you're using an actual drawing pad, it's obviously easier, so on his beard will, you know, give him some definition or texture on his beard. Yeah, you are really only limited by your imagination. So there's the quick chibi version, but as I say, you're not limited. You can do as much or as little as you need to. You can make it as kind of unrealistic or as cartoonified as you like. Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed watching just how to do a little chibi art style. Let me know what you think.